Pirates came into the year with a lot of question marks on the offensive side of the ball. And so far, almost all of them have played out in the team's favor. Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz have had nice bounce-back seasons. The additions of Ryan O'Hearn and Brandon Lau were big swings, the type that they hadn't taken in years past, and they've paid off handsomely. We've seen guys like Nick Gonzalez grow. We've seen Connor Griffin show that he can handle the major league game. We have seen a lot of good things from this team that really could have gone south. Henry Davis's bat was one of those few question marks that hasn't really been a strength this year, but he finished the first half of the season strong, and it's fair to wonder, is this it? Can this finally be it? Good morning and welcome to Offbeat here on North Shore 9 presented by FanDuel. My name is Alex Stumpf and this is a daily look at your Pittsburgh Pirates. Endy Rodriguez finished the first half of the season on the injured list, and that opened some playing opportunity for Henry Davis, who was not having a good offensive campaign. We had seen every once in a while he would run into one and it would keep the OPS in the range of rosterable. And we know what he's done defensively and how he's grown into a good pitch framer and defender and how the pitchers love throwing to him. There's a reason why he is Paul Skeens' personal catcher. But at the end of the day, it's always been the bat. He was drafted, believed to be a hitting first catcher, and he's done the inverse in his short major league career. And this was a big year for him coming in. Because 24, you can brush that under the rug. It's like, okay, that was a rough year. Let's see what he can do. 25, he got through the whole year, but the bat, it was still 500-something OPS. And the way that he was starting in 26 with another 500 OPS, you kind of, at the end of the day, are what the back of the baseball card says you are. If that's what you're producing, that's what a lot of people are going to expect you to continue to produce. And then he finishes this first half of the season. And I am going to start by saying, I know this is only a 12-game sample size. And that's really not a lot. That's not enough. I get that. I agree with you. But in that 12-game sample size, he hit .310 with a .420 OBP, .595 slugging, 3 home runs, over 50 at-bats, a 1.015 OPS. So out of curiosity, I checked. And in his career, he only had one other streak of 12 games where he had an OPS over 1,000. And that was back in 2023, whenever he hit those 2 home runs off Shohei Ohtani. We got a little taste of this last year, around the Diamondbacks series in 25 and the lead up after, where he was finally driving the ball more to center field and he was getting results, and he won that game in Arizona last year. And he had some good swings. It's like, okay, is he turning a corner? And then he reverted back to what we had seen in the past. More strikeouts, more whiffs, more pulled hard foul balls that he just wasn't using the center of the field. That is such a big portion of this equation. So again, I understand the skepticism. If you're like, okay, he's using the center of the field more, what's the point? We've seen this before for a little bit. He's going to go back to just pulling the ball. And yeah, we saw him pull the ball a couple times. And yeah, I know a big part of that 1,000 OPS is pulled home runs. And a couple balls in that final homestand that were like real close, 50-50, that broke his way. We probably wouldn't be having this discussion if he had like a 700 OPS over a 12-game stretch. I get that. But at the end of the day, you're just looking for anything really to grab onto with his bat. Because this team is a better club whenever Henry Davis hits. I don't think he's in a position where there have to be a lot of pressure on him to be the number one guy. I know Andy Rodriguez is still on the injured list at the time of this recording. Don't know how long that's going to be. But for now, Davis still has some runway. But whenever Rodriguez comes back, I do think you give him the lion's share of the starts. Because the swings he's taking, especially against right-handed pitching, it's been really good. Andy Rodriguez has played his way into a spot where it's like, yeah, he's the catcher of the future probably, on the condition that he stays healthy and he keeps performing like we've seen. This has been such a problem position my whole time, on the Pirates beat. Whenever they went with Jacob Stallings and, oh yeah, he's a pretty good hitter, all things considered, but it's the glove that matters, and they trade him. And then Roberto Perez gets hurt, and then they bring up these young catchers in Rodriguez and Davis, and like, okay, now they're going to just take the reins and roll with it, but Rodriguez has been hurt, and Henry has struggled to hit at the major league level. It has been a journey to get to this point. And it's something that if Henry just took control, if he could just control the zone, if he could just put bat to ball, if he could just use the center of the field, we know what his bat can do. How he can generate those crazy exit velocities, how he can generate that bat speed, how he can generate all those things that you want from a hitter. On paper, Henry Davis should be a stud offensively. He has not been up at the major leagues. But whenever I'm looking at which players could make the greatest impact in the second half of the season, I think Henry Davis is one of those players. Because we just haven't seen what his bat can do ever since that little taste in 2023 whenever he was a rookie. It was that home run against Shohei Ohtani, those home runs against Shohei Ohtani, whenever we all saw this little glimpse that got that little taste of Henry Davis that, they've been chasing ever since. And maybe he's kind of showing some good traits that could be replicated right now. I'm going to get into why in a minute, but first I'm going to throw it over to Cody.
This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack hydration sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious, low-sugar, brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way for you to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. The Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. My personal favorites so far have been the almond butter chip and the iced tea lemonade hydration mix. It's just really full of flavor. I love starting my day with it, and I couldn't imagine starting my day with anything else other than IQ Bar products. Right now, IQ Bar is offering our podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
So I talked about the home runs Henry hit in that final stretch before the end of the season. Here's the swing that made the biggest impression on me. It was against the Brewers. Robert Gasser is on the mound, and Henry Davis has been more crouched lately. He's changed his stance. We saw him be crouched in the past, some in 23, some in 24. After that, we saw him stand more upright. And for someone who has struggled in his career to hit high fastballs, standing more upright makes sense. You're going to have better body control. You're going to be able to, theoretically, get the hands through different parts of the zone better. It's the type of approach where it's like, yeah, I can kind of see why he's doing this. And like pretty much everything that he did offensively, it didn't really take. And now he's crouched, and he's more crouched than I think I ever remember him being. So that's one of those spots where it's like, okay, he's leaning into something that's an approach, that's something worth experimenting. Is he going to be able to catch up to those high fastballs? Because that's the obvious way to attack a hitter who is really just, making his zone small. Go high. If I'm going to get a fastball that's pretty much at your chin because of how you're crouched, I'm going to do that. And Robert Gasser threw him a fastball up, and he smacked a base hit to left. The way he just got his hands through the zone, had good control, good body positioning, right over the shortstop's head, clean base hit. It's one swing, but it's a swing that I don't think I can recall too many times the last couple years where he had a swing like that against a fastball like that. That was one of those, okay, if you are in a more comfortable spot or whatever the reasoning is right now to go more crouched and you could catch up to those high fastballs finally, you have my attention. Because there are some underlying traits in his offensive profile that are pretty good. I'll take a 20% strikeout rate with a 10% walk rate. I know neither is spectacular, but it's above average for both. He doesn't whiff a ton. He doesn't chase a ton. He hits the ball hard. It's one of those, like, if you can control the zone better, if you can plug what was one of the biggest holes in your swing, and you can maintain those underlying good traits, and you can build off of what you do well as a hitter, which is generate bat speed and exit velocities, there might be a path. There might be a path. I also get what the back of the baseball card says. I also get that for a guy who has only taken 180 plate appearances and has a streak of over 1,000 OPS over his last 12 games, it's still a 611 OPS on the year. I get that all. That is all valid. But whenever I look at hitters who didn't perform in the first half of the season that could potentially in the second half, I think Henry Davis might be the best option here. Like, obviously, Jared Triolo has always hit better in the second half of seasons. And Marcell Ozuna, to his credit, has put together some better at-bats lately. I would like to see him get some hits in games where it's not just, a total hit parade for the entire team. See if he can carry a game before I really consider, like, okay, has he figured some stuff out? But, yeah, Henry Davis is the guy who is still going to get some playing time. With Endy Rodriguez still on the injured list, he is going to be the starter. If he can contribute offensively, that is huge for this club. It gives you some flexibility to use Endy Rodriguez at first base potentially. Whenever there's a lefty on the mound, get Horwitz out of the lineup or O'Hearn, either one of them. It's just not an automatic out at the bottom of the lineup, which there have been times in Henry Davis's career where it's felt like that. We always knew he could run into a couple, and even amid a really frustrating offensive season, up until these last 12 games, he was still on pace for 10 home runs, which for a backup catcher, if that's what he is, isn't the end of the world. But he could always be more. I can't just write off like Henry Davis is just your backup catcher. I cannot just imagine him being Austin Hedges. I think he has still some offensive potential. He has to realize it. We're seeing some mechanical changes right now. We're seeing some good swings at the moment. How long could he let this ride? Is this just another 2-week blip that, we look back on? Or is this maybe the start of something that could lead to a better second half? Thank you so much for listening to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe wherever you find podcasts, or check us out on YouTube if you want to see my smiling face. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk again tomorrow.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.